Welcome back to today's masterclass. Today's masterclass is about phase 3 of a project that we've talked once previously about that was really just in general about the whole project itself. And the Shen Project, really, this last phase, I'd say, was really the most that they were excited about. Renovating, sort of rethinking and reworking the primary bedroom and bathroom.
And it timed out perfectly because we were able to finish those other areas. And we had always had this final phase plan, but she was excited to now for us to address that last final area.
Yeah.
And her space was being refinished. So it was perfect.
Yeah, and we knew that there were a number of challenges doing this particular project. The one was the long sloping roof, and we knew that originally when it was constructed, the length of those 2x12s, we could see by the bowing and everything. So we put a beam up in there, made it decorative, but we knew that at that point it was all temporary. We needed to add the stairs down to the basement, which became the office area, because they did work from home. And it allowed us to really take the time to really incorporate all the things that they wanted to have, rather than just the quick makeover that we did at the end of phase 2 to just kind of get it painted and livable. We really came back and said, okay, how do we really rethink this whole space?
Exactly. And during the time frame that we were there is when we observed that we needed to do something sooner than later with that beam, and just a minor, a day or two out of the primary bedroom,
right,
so that we could get that set and get it safe. So that was key. And then we had the time to then plan and work through this and finalize everything that we had been working on through the course of the project. We were now able to really sort of the best of it. She said, I love how this turned out. I love how this turned out. And so we were able to pull that into the final design in this phase.
And one of the great things of really this phase 3 was we had materials that were left over. The stone allowed us to do the gas stone fireplace, the barnwood from the barn that we had taken down on their property. We had pieces left over from there so that we knew exactly what we could do, what we could accent. I know one of the really cool parts of the project was we made a custom made bed frame with the headboard and everything. Yeah. And that was really just all out of the scrap barnwood. And it was kind of something that just evolved as we walked through the room and just discussing different things. And we said, hey, why don't we take the rest of this wood left over and let's make that headboard out of this barnwood.
And after working together with them for so long, it was great on the design end. So we could say, look, here's what we did in this room.
Exactly.
And it was like, yes, let's do it. And didn't have to go through details of explaining things.
And them understanding, right?
Yeah.
Right. The heated floors was a perfect example. They came to us and said, we definitely want to do the heated floors in this room because, you're in the room, you're maybe in slippers or, socks or whatever. And they just realized how well the heated floor worked throughout the rest of the house, that it was just much more comfortable.
And they realized the truly custom work that we were able to do for them in the design of the closet system, the lighting, we were able to customize that with the closet area and the room. And then really, after us being there through the different phases, we realized how dark it was in this portion of the house. And so the key was to brighten it up. It's a large room, a lot of space. So how do we get light pretty much everywhere?
Yeah.
And through skylights, additional windows, the clear story windows up above, and changing the roof line that we'll get into. But it really just was able to all come together in this phase.
And one of the things that I think just ties in, and they really saw it as we worked through these different phases, is how design build is really, I'll say, essential for a project like this, because you really need to have something that's designed from beginning to end, and then understand how really they evolve throughout the project. And that's every client. It's not just, you come in thinking, oh, I've seen this on TV, I've seen this on, the different home improvement channels, won't mention any. But I thought I loved this. And then as they see it come together, or they see the materials and they realize some of the things that, oh, you know what, it may look great here, but in my home with my lighting, my color choices, this isn't the best solution. Or maybe with a better understanding of the products, this isn't really, I'm not someone that's going to take care of this every year and seal it, do different things like you have to with marble. But there's many other products that look like it, and we can do that. And sometimes there's a savings there.
And in this case, we had the benefit of working with them for so long to see how they live, and truly
we
were
knew
there
a lot about
through
we knew a
frequent
lot.
visits.
Yes, we were making suggestions before they were saying, I was just thinking that, and we were coming up with different designs and different selection choices and things like that.
And I always say that's one of the most important parts of getting a design together for you, to make sure, how do you live? And that's what we start doing in the preliminary phases of every design.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we're getting your input and hearing about what your needs are and what you're using the space for. How much time are you spending in this room? What time of the day are you spending in this room?
Very true.
We like to read here. We like to, after dinner, we've had clients love to sit together with the family in this space. So we need to know all those things, and that's going to help us create the design. And so after having phase 1 and phase 2 done, we really knew more about them, and we were able to, again, like Scott said, hey, let's do this. And they said, yeah, that's what we were thinking about.
And one of the things that we always say that I think is always, I think people are surprised. What's the most important thing about picking a builder? Now, a lot of people think, oh, it's the quality workmanship, and they think that by getting those answers from a number of different builders, that really is, the answer. It's about the work, or maybe even how you do the work, or things like that. And not that all those things are not important, because they are. But the most important thing is, how do you get along with the builder? You know that things are going to come up.
Who do you feel comfortable working with?
Who do you think you can work through challenges with?
Yes.
When something comes up, do you feel like that builder is going to be defensive and say, this wasn't my problem, this was somebody else's problem? Yep. Or do you think it's somebody that's going to say, okay, we have this issue, how do we work through it? What are the solutions? What can we do? How do we get past whatever has come up? And
we've talked about that in other classes, where that's one of the biggest advantages of the design build system that we use. It's pointing fingers, resolving any challenges that come up, things like that. We're in from day one, so we're going to see the project through and make sure that we resolve it to your satisfaction, and that you're going to love the finished project. That's what's key.
We got a great question from them right at the beginning. Why do you guys do it this way? Why doesn't all builders do it that way? And can't really answer for everybody else out there, but we do it this way so that we have the control over the project, so that for what we're responsible for, which is the whole project, we can control, because we're doing the design, we're doing the structural, we're doing all the work there with uh, our own in-house people. And what's great is that when something does come up, we're able to just take care of it immediately. It's not coming back to the architect who does this. One of the things that they asked was, well, so why doesn't everybody build this way? And I think one of the reasons is because I think that, well, first off, it's harder. You're putting on a lot more hats. You know, you're not just the builder, and that's how we started out. We started out just building. I mean, we went to the architects, we went to the designers. They designed it. We went and did exactly what they wanted. And what we were finding is a lot of times the homeowners weren't happy with the end result. And we built what was on the drawings. The problem is most clients, they thought they understood what was on the drawings, but as it came together, they realized, oh, I envisioned this differently in my head.
Yeah.
And instead of being able to evolve that project as it was being built, really it just kept going in that direction. And at the end, they were like, well, I got my space I wanted, but it wasn't exactly what I envisioned. But with a design build firm, we're able to make those changes as we're working through the project. Plus, we know exactly what they're looking for. And so we can make those suggestions.
And because we've been there from day one, we know how that project is going to look at the end. And also, our goal day one is to make sure that everything is included into that project. Your vision is becoming a reality, and that's important to us. We take it personally, and that's, you know, it can be hard, but we want to make sure that we're committed to your project. We know what you're looking for, and we want to deliver.
And you know, a great example in this particular project was really the walk-in closet area. Initially, they thought, and we drew 2 separate closets that was a his and hers, and they were, you know, the lighting, and then they had a central area where they could just come and sit down and both could get dressed there and things. Once we took that roof off, it was almost like they walked in and you could see the light bulb going off, and you could tell that they were already re-envisioning what we had really spent the last 6 months envisioning. And which is what we want them to do, which is why we want them as involved as they can be, because it just helps get the project that they really want.
And we were able to reconfigure their closet, customize the shelving, the lighting, the storage space in that closet. And we went through a couple of different versions of it, but that was fine. And we wanted to, again, like I always say, we want to make sure that you're happy with the end results. And so we were able to give them renderings, different elevations for each area, so that they got exactly what they were looking for.
And I think what was key is because we separated the two, the central lighting that was coming into the common area between the 2 closets, now we were making this into one large closet. And so we knew right then that window now was going to become part of that closet. So we were concerned about the rest of the room, the hallway coming down. Was this going to darken the room some?
Yeah.
We started to build that. We allowed them to see it several times throughout the day, how that was impacting the lighting now by losing that double window. We made some suggestions. We had some leftover transom windows that were from the barn that was taken down. So we went ahead and incorporated them, the tall wall that was there. We put those windows across there. And then we added 3 additional skylights that allowed the natural light to still come down into that hallway.
The skylights over the hallway, and they shine through the transom windows. It just all pulled nicely together. And again, it's using materials that were available, and incorporating design features that we used in the other areas of the house, and so it all tied together.
the bench area, I know, was a big factor when we all walked through the house and discussed the project, and we didn't have enough material to make the bench look like it was, this deep, this tall of a wood bench.
Mhm.
So what we did is we cut down those boards that were left over from the beam, that old beam that came from the barn. And we made it look like, we structured it with the 2x4s, and then we just went ahead and wrapped it, veneered it almost with the larger pieces. So that tied in with the beams that were on the ceiling that we did.
Yeah.
Because we had to do the collar ties to hold the two sides together, which was one of the things the room was lacking originally, which is why it tended to sag. But by pulling all those elements of finishes together, it really tied that room that was a large room together and made it feel like it was just one warm place where they could, come and sit, like you said, with the family, and they would watch a couple shows in the evening together.
And we were able to incorporate some of the latest technology with the operable clear story windows that you can't reach. They were what, 14, 12, 14
at least,
feet
yeah.
above the floor area. And so we were able to get some convenient switches located for the operation of those windows, the shades.
And yes, one of the issues that they had when we walked into the room back phase one is this room was always very cold and very hot. And so we said, well, how do we adjust these things?
Absolutely.
And we knew one of the things we could do was get better returns in the room, get that air moving better back to the system. But we knew that also that wasn't everything. We knew that we had to have those windows so that they were motorized and ventable.
Yeah.
And so that was a key thing. And then the other thing with all the glass that we did put in the window, we put in the 8-foot tall sliders. The room was very open, and which is great until you want to be, yes, exactly, in the bedroom, and not feel like, even though this space was, not close to another house, they were on a fairly large lot, they still wanted to feel like, they were comfortable in that room. And so all the electric shades and blinds and things that was all controlled by one panel was very convenient. And we did, in this particular case, we did tie it into their home system, which allowed them to voice activate different things so that you wouldn't necessarily have to do something. I know that she said one of the cool things was that they could decide to go ahead and open the blinds on the skylights and the windows in the morning to start allowing the light to come in slowly and kind of, wake you up and things like that.
Yep. Use technology wherever available, and it makes for easier living and more comfortable living.
Absolutely. And speaking of technology, they traveled a lot during this project. So it wasn't always as easy as them seeing it there. So by us using Buildertrend, and we use Zoom also for our video conferences, we were able to do a lot of live things with them so that they could at least get the feel of walking down the hallway. In fact, we added those skylights while they were out of town, but they could realize exactly what the amount of light that was coming in and why we were suggesting them.
One of the things that we had been talking about, or one of the drawbacks on the existing house, was the access to the lower level. You literally had to walk around the outside to get down to the basement.
Yeah.
So by creating additional space in the bedroom, reconfiguring some of the floor plan, and made that nice, great book nook at the top of the stairs,
Yeah.
and then full access down to the whole lower level, created space for office space, relaxing and entertainment. The sound system that was incorporated into that additional space there, it just made for, half again as much space as the bedroom.
Goes back to planning. We knew day one when we started with the sound system that we needed something was expandable. And so we expanded it from, I think phase one, we only had probably 6 pairs of speakers. And I know that at the end of this, we had 22 pairs of speakers, including all the outdoor space and everything else. And so we, if you don't have somebody that plans for the whole project, what happens is then, okay, well, now we need to go back and get rid of this system and we need to put in a new system that can expand to this. And then if it is multi-phases, sometimes you might be doing that 2 times, 3 times to get to the final phase. Instead, knowing the whole project, planning for the whole project, what we were able to do is
have that vision.
Yeah.
And that came through communication and realizing the potential, the future of the home.
Yeah. And one of the cool things that we did do in the bedroom, there was that very large custom mural that they had painted. There was that hanging painting that we actually reframed. We knew that putting speakers in the room was important. We knew for the stereo system, we also knew that they liked to listen to music a lot. What we didn't want to do was take away from this grand wall and painting by putting speakers just into the wall, because we knew that was going to look
focus.
Yep. So we came up with we didn't come up with it, but we suggested putting in the speakers, which we've used on several projects, which are you're able to recess and plaster right over them. And I know that he was very concerned. What is it really going to sound like coming through the speakers? And it really is amazing that sound is not distorted in any way. It still gets to a pretty loud volume, which we did test out, and the tone and the sound and everything sounds great, but yet you don't have them
taking away from the main focus of that wall. Yeah,
and having the barnwood bed there and everything else. Now you just see the picture. You see the headboard that's made out of the barnwood, which they absolutely love, and nothing else except the painted wall behind them, and the ductwork, the registers and things. We did go with something slightly different in this room,
and so that it sort of blends in also again with the drywall finishes at the edges,
right,
so that you don't see the traditional metal grate, if you will.
Even painted, they still stand out. You still see,
yes,
even if you paint them the same color as the walls, you're still seeing the grills. This is nice. It just has a line that goes around it. Still has all the same airflow and everything else, and it really just looks nice and clean, and it doesn't really just draw your eye to it like the other grills do, and especially in this room.
It just makes for a comfortable space, and that's what they said at the end of the project, that it's just really, we feel comfortable here, and that's the key.
Which is really the most important thing. Are you physically comfortable? Is it warm? The heated floors, the airflow, the way we redid the registers, allowing to get that hot air off the ceiling, which was their main real. Well, I guess the cold was just as much of a complaint also. So we were able to take care of both of those. The additional lighting, which they didn't like that long sloping roof. We were able to have 2 roofs, additional windows.
Lighting in the middle,
allowed all the light to come in really everywhere, and really the emotional feeling of the room, which is, I think, was a bigger factor than really the lighting and the being comfortable in the room.
Exactly. And with additions and renovations, there's ways that you could physically match what's on the house and tie. There's some tricks there of how tying in new with the old, but ultimately it's just like Gary mentioned the other day when I came back from his project. Just says it feels like it's natural, the way we're living, where our new bedroom is, and how our lifestyle. It's new to us, but it feels like it's always been that way, and it's just a natural, easy feeling.
It reminds me of one of the things they said as we were actually leaving they used to really really stay away from the bedroom. Because it was uncomfortable, and they didn't really even feel like it was warm or anything. Yeah, exactly. Now it's the opposite. Now they look forward to going into the bedroom and relaxing and really because I mean it's much more than a bedroom. I mean, yes,
Exactly.
it is the bedroom is part of that room, but that room is really encompasses their sitting room and almost, some of their TV area and the office area that's downstairs.
It's a place to spend time and enjoy yourself, enjoy the family.
Exactly. So if you're thinking about any type of renovation or new custom home, certainly give us a call. I can't stress enough that design build is absolutely the way to do every project. You'll get the best results, and not only will you be happy with the end project, which is important, but you'll be happy with the path to the end project, which is, we always say, it's just as important as
Absolutely.
the end result.
The journey, and we want you to feel comfortable, not pressured, and know that you're going to get the project that you're looking for. That's key.
Yeah. Give us a ring, fill out the contact form. We're happy to talk with you, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks again. We'll see you next time.